All right, let me fucking do this
I
shit.
ain't got this number back. I need $25 for this walk around sit down chair.
Productions. Been around the block. Been around the block.
All right, welcome to Been Around the Block, episode 23. I'm Brooke Southern. We have Chris Ross, Bradley Nemo Sparks, and Tiffany Whisman. How's everybody doing tonight?
Awesome.
Awesome, hell yeah. Well, I'm really excited. I'm glad that you accepted the invite to come on here. I had a couple mutual friends recommend that we ask you, and I'm glad that you accepted this. Now, tell me, you said you have 22 years sober. Is that right?
I do. 22 years and 11 months. So,
Fuck yeah,
Wow.
so almost 23 years.
yes.
Damn, hell yeah.
Wow.
That's what's up. So,
I think I was like a junior in high school when you got sober. That's
Yeah, me too. I was like 12 when I got sober.
damn, hell yeah. So, well, yeah,
That's awesome.
nah, I'm not gonna ask that question because I was gonna ask how old were you when you get sober. I'm just not gonna do that. My bad.
Oh, you can. I was 29.
Nice.
Okay, I got you. Very nice.
He just did
Well,
math
cool.
in his
Yeah,
head.
we appreciate you. No, I didn't. No, I just took your word for it. I can't. I can do math fast. It's not correct, but you know. So
22
so
years.
tell us.
That's amazing. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I think it's cool that I'm on episode 23, and I know I'm not quite 23 years yet, but on September 9th, I will have 23 years by the grace of God. So,
Nice.
no, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Very nice. So tell us a little bit. I know you got some people like comment on the Facebook page about you doing this interview and everything. Like, just tell us a little bit about how it started. Why'd you decide to get sober? What led up to that? Where you at now? All that good stuff.
Sounds good. I got sober because my drinking was an absolute shit show. I was a big fan of blackout drinking. In fact, I really didn't know any other way to drink. I waited until I was about 17 to start drinking. I was born and raised in a very divided household. My mom was a devout Jehovah's Witness, so extremely strict structure there. But then my dad was like allegiant to Coors Light, so he drank a case of beer a day. Extreme active alcoholic. By the time I was 10 or 11 years old, I just routinely remember that there was always a case of beer in the bottom of our fridge, and he was always passed out in the middle of the living room floor by 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I, at 16 or 17 was like, I'm never going to drink. Drinking is bad. I don't want to become an alcoholic. Well, I got married really young, as many people do who are Jehovah's Witnesses. So we went on our honeymoon and stayed in an all-inclusive resort. And I very quickly figured out how much I loved to drink and was blackout drinking, within the first 2 or 3 times that I ever tried drinking. And I persisted in that behavior for the next 12 years. So didn't ever drink every day, probably up until the last 3 or 4 months. But the blackout drinking was getting extremely dangerous. And so my last night of drinking, I had gone to Bricktown. I was like 29 years old, got separated from the girl who I was with. She drank like I did. Both of us just, we just drank until we got cut off or until the bars closed. And blacked out, and then was told later, well, I came to about probably an hour after the bars closed. I came to in a car of 6 guys who I had never met. And they had come up from Fort Sill to party. They were military guys. And the designated driver, he was on a hiatus from drinking. I think he had gotten in some trouble at Fort Sill for drinking. So he was sober. And he told me later, he said, listen, I started watching you in the club early on in the evening, And I thought by about midnight, I thought that girl she's going to get in real trouble tonight if I don't keep an eye on her. And so he swooped me up and put me in his car. And by the absolute grace of God, these were really, really nice guys. Things could have gone a whole lot worse, but they were definitely, God sends that night. Apparently once the DD got me in the car, we pulled up to a gas station, and he said I got out and then tried to get in some like ratty ass truck with some real trashy motherfuckers and was going to like go off with them. And he came out of the gas station and was like, oh, hell no, she's with me. Put me back in the truck. And I don't know. It was just like I had enough events like that. There was another time, probably 3 or 4 weeks prior to that, I had gone to a biker bar by myself and got on the back of a Harley Davidson. Some guy, had no idea who he was, and took him back to my house, and I have little kids, and I'm like, I came to kissing him, and I was like, whoa, like, who even are you? You got to get out of my house. So just some close calls like that, and enough blackout drinking. Like, I had driven my daughters around in a complete blackout so many times. I can't even tell you. I can't believe I never even got pulled over, let alone, been thrown in the drunk tank, which is where I belonged.
Were you still married at this time?
I was going through a divorce.
Okay.
Yeah, going through a divorce. So I had that sort of like hanging over my head too. And ex-husband, or soon to be at the time, ex-husband, was also a Jehovah's Witness. And like, there was lots of like, let's watch Tiffany and see if she can't keep her shit together, then I'll get full custody of these kids. And so, I had a lot of responsibility on me in terms of like, I don't want to lose my daughters. And then my dad had gotten sober when I was 14. So I had him in my ear, and he was just like, listen, your drinking is a mess, girlfriend. You've got to stop. So he was a great resource for me too. I remember calling him after, it would have been on September 8th. No, it would have been on September 10th. I called my dad, and I was just like, kind of told him what was going on. And he just shook his head, and he was like, you gotta do something different, sister. So.
And how many kids did you have at that time?
At that time I had 2, and they were like 4 and 6. So
going through a divorce, you're blackout drinking.
Yeah.
And you're surrounded by Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, do they understand alcoholism? What kind of solutions were they giving you?
It's weird with Jehovah's Witnesses because there's so many things you're not allowed to do, but for the most part, you can get away with a lot of heavy drinking. I learned how to be an alcoholic with, surrounded by a cohort of Jehovah's Witnesses. And I won't say like they condone drinking, but you've got to really, like, your ass has to be falling off for you to get in any kind of real trouble. My ass was falling off, and I did get in lots of real trouble. I got hauled into what they called the back room and counseled by the elders numerous times, and was put on what they refer to as public reproof. So my name was announced from the platform in front of hundreds of people one night. Like,
I was going to say, can you kind of explain that a little bit, what that means? Because I'm not familiar at all.
Yeah. In religions like Jehovah's Witnesses, there's a lot of, they think that you'll be motivated to change if they sort of like make you feel a little bit publicly humiliated. Yeah. And along with that humiliation comes some isolation. So if my name is announced from the platform in front of a congregation of hundreds of people, they've heard now that Tiffany has been reproved for bad behavior. And that kind of lets the congregation know, oh, she's not very good association. She doesn't have a good relationship with Jehovah right now. Let's all sort of back away from her. So here I am going through this divorce. Well, now I'm starting to be humiliated in front of, the people, my community, and starting to like see friends drop away. I also owned a business. I had a little dance studio. And within a week, I had 150 students. And a week later, after this announcement, I had like 12 kids. Their parents were pulling their kids out of my business left and right because, Tiffany's name's been announced from the platform. So things were not things were not going well.
Damn.
Wow. Well, that's not how the church is supposed to be. That's
I know. And I don't have any resentment. I'm really grateful for all I've been through. I know all three of you are going to be able to relate to this, because I think what we walk through as kids and young adults makes us, at least for me, much more empathetic now. I'm probably the complete opposite of a judgmental person, just because I was born and raised constantly judged and encouraged to judge other people's decisions. And I don't know. I'm very, very I will give you grace till the ends of the earth now. And I think a lot of that's just because of what I've gone through.
so. What finally? So you're spiraling out of control. September 10th, you're talking to your dad. What finally clicks? What makes it click?
I woke up on September 11th, 2001, turned on the TV, and the Twin Towers were burning down. And I had wallowed in my bed feeling sorry for myself for a couple of days, because the last episode with the drinking and the 6 guys in the car, and I had brought them all back to my house, and just like shit was so scary and bad, and I had become like this really, really bad girl, and my religion was stressed out and worried about me. And I remember turning the TV on and seeing what the entire rest of the world was watching, and all these people are like bawling and crying and so sad and scared. And I thought to myself, I could not care less what's happening in New York City right now. I have bigger problems, like who cares? And just that felt really gross and sad to me. Like I had become that self-centered and that much of a victim. That night I went to a 12-step meeting, and I don't know, I hated it, but I heard just enough to give me just like a sliver of hope that did the trick. I called my dad and I let him know, that I had gone to a 12-step meeting, and he said, if you can commit to 90 days of 12-step meetings and not taking a drink, let's see how this goes. And I haven't had a drink since.
Were you in Oklahoma whenever you
Yeah.
attended your first meetings?
Yeah. Yep.
Did you go through withdrawal?
Did I go to what?
Did you go through withdrawal?
No, I didn't go through any kind of physical withdrawals.
Nice.
Yeah, I think, and there were times in my early sobriety that I would compare my story to other people and wonder, had I really hit a rock bottom? Because, I wasn't experiencing liver failure. I didn't have to go to detox. I had never had a DUI. I had a lot of I nevers, but I had read something that talked about how, your rock bottom does not have to look like anyone else's. And especially people, like, as we've gotten to understand the disease of alcoholism and the phenomenon of craving and the way it progresses, I had a choice. I could stop at 29, not lose custody of my children, and, perhaps never have to spend a night in jail, or I could keep drinking and have absolutely 50,000 times more terrible things to talk about. Thank God for me, like, what I had experienced up until then was enough. And I'm really, really super grateful for that. And to this day, like, I look at my behavior and how I interact with any sort of substance that changes the way that I feel. Caffeine, nicotine, it's a sugar. It's ridiculous. Like, I cannot do anything normally. Like, I've had like 75 cups of coffee today. Like, blah. For a while, I thought vaping was a really good idea, but I will vape until I'm physically ill and can't think and like can't eat. And then I'll throw it away, and then I'll go back to the dumpster I threw it in and go and find it. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
just that I just have that. There is no doubt in my mind I am an alcoholic, and if I were to try anything else, it's going to become a problem.
So I was going to ask, actually. So was it just alcohol, or did you ever dabble in drugs or anything like that?
No, I didn't. And I think it's because of how I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. I just was not around it. Alcohol was acceptable. Drug abuse of any kind, including marijuana, was a huge no-no that would get you disfellowshipped. And disfellowshipped means you are literally excommunicated from the religion. And I did end up experiencing that, not for alcoholism, but because even though I had divorced my husband, to go and have any sort of intimate relationship with anybody else is considered adultery, whether you're divorced from them or not. In the eyes of the Lord, you're still married to that person forever and ever, amen, until you sleep with someone else. Well, I got sober, I found a boyfriend, and I had to go to the elders and sit them down and say, listen, I'm having sex and I really like it and I'm not going to stop. And you just need to disfellowship me. So I was excommunicated from the religion. And what that
Damn.
means, basically, like to this day, if I bump into anyone that I knew as a Jehovah's Witness, they will just look me dead in the eye and pretend that I don't exist. Like,
That's fucking crazy.
my maid of honor in my wedding, run into her at the mall. She's going to look at me like she's never seen me before. It's super sad.
It doesn't
sucks.
seem right.
No, it's not great.
Let's shout out.
I
was going to shout out Nicole Calloway. She says she's been sober off opiates for 13 years now.
Amazing.
Congratulations, Nicole. That was actually.
We also had somebody.
Yes, Christopher. He asked, "Do you consider marijuana not being sober?" I would like to. We can save that for another podcast episode. This is Tiffany's hour. So yeah, I would love to answer that, and a lot of people probably wouldn't like my answer, but that's okay too.
Same. Yeah. We had one other. We'll see. Okay, yeah. So sorry, I just put that up there because somebody's answered. They can just answer each other in the comments.
So I got a question. Are your parents? I mean, your mom. She's still Jehovah's Witness to this day.
She believes the tenets of the religion, but she's not active in the community. She and I have had a really, really difficult time of things over the last 22 years because she'll start feeling really guilty for still being in my life, and then she'll like back away and try to not have a relationship with me in order to keep the other members of the religion happy. But
it sounds like Scientology almost.
I mean, a little bit. Yeah. It's kind of some of those same ideals. Like, the belief systems are different, but in terms of like keeping a tight lid on how members behave, it's a lot of similarities for sure. Yeah. A lot of manipulation and coercion based on isolation and like, we're going to withdraw our love, and it's scary. It keeps a lot of people in, for sure.
And did you so when it comes to your alcoholism, do you know what brings you into like deep alcoholism? Was it like codependency, or just like being not able to do certain things and stuff like that?
I think that is such an incredibly important question. And I've had to spend a lot of time thinking about that over the course of my sobriety. And of course, a 4-step was extremely helpful for me. I think I started learning how to lie and keep secrets really well when I was really little, because I wanted to do what I wanted to do, but I also didn't want to be in constant trouble. So I found ways around the extremely strict parameters of my religion that meant I had to keep secrets and tell lies. And as I got older, the secrets and the lying felt like shit. And, and also I was trying to live a life that was completely opposite of who I really was as a person. There's not a lot of wiggle room with your personality when you're being raised in a religion like that. And so, I was denying like a lot of who I was. Part of that's my sexuality. I'm bisexual, and being raised as a Jehovah's Witness, that's complete, like, no way. Like, you're heterosexual, period. That's the only option. So there was I think there was a lot of secrets and lying, and then suppressing my true identity, not just sexually, but just all of me, that I discovered very quickly. Drinking relieved all the noise, like I take a drink and 10 minutes later, who gives a fuck? Everything's good.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah.
Good question.
I'm going to throw a comment up here on the screen. Yeah, it's a good question, Chris. So it says his dad died. Who's this? Christopher Patrick Shields. My dad died at 47 due to alcohol and have not touched liquor since. It feels amazing. I got one more comment I'm going to throw up here real quick. Bless you, Tiffany. You've been through a lot. You're strong, girl.
Thanks, sister.
So, yeah, that was a good question, Chris. So, all right. And so, and I work a recovery program. So have you found, like, and I guess a more specific question that I've asked a lot of people that ask me advice on stuff like this, but has it been different when you work the steps the first time versus working it the second, third, fourth, fifth time, etc.? Because for me, it's a completely different experience every time I do it.
Yes. When I worked the steps the first time, I felt like now that I look back, it was like a 5-year-old, like the most rudimentary approach. I did the very best I could with what I had at the time, and I was as honest as I possibly could have been. But my sobriety has been weird. Like, I don't know. I was super invested in my recovery for the first 10 years. And then I got remarried. I had 2 more kids, and I was just like, I think I'm good. I don't really need a recovery program anymore. I don't need friends that are in recovery. I just don't need it. And I drifted away from all of that connection, and I did not start drinking again. But you know what I started doing? I started lying and keeping secrets again. And that showed up in the form of affairs. So here I am, married for the second time, and started having an affair. And I think on some level, I liked the secret. I liked the lying. It reminded me of growing up as a Jehovah's Witness and how I had to keep secrets and tell lies. And as weird as it sounds, that was comfy. And ended up getting caught about 1.5 years later. And I mean, my whole life fell apart. Like, it was so bad. And we tried to repair the marriage. And then 2 years later, I had another affair. And this time it was with a woman. And so now, like, oh my God, this is like so extra drama. Tiffany's like really gone off the rails because now she's gay. And and that resulted, that came about because my husband at the time had hired a private investigator. We got followed. Like, it was just like so gross and embarrassing to even look back on with how it all went down. But again, all this public humiliation. I owned a gym at the time. I had, lots of gym members that loved me and looked up to me as a mentor. And I'm like, getting on Facebook every night in a private group and just waxing poetic about what a great person I am and how, we can all just use exercise to be such good people. And meanwhile, I'm like a fucking liar. And I remember, like, the night after getting caught, I was ready to kill myself. I was so disgusted with who I had become. And I got kicked out of my own house, have got 2 new little kids living there with their dad, and I'm missing my children. And I woke up in this hotel room all alone, and I thought to myself, I am either going to kill myself today or I am going back into a recovery program. It was one of the two. And thank God yep, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, so what I'm hearing is like you hit more of a rock bottom in sobriety and after having that much time sober than actually before you got into any sort of program in the first place. Because like my experience, I can burn my life down just as quick being sober and do it stone cold sober. So,
and it's more horrifying because I can't blame it on alcohol, Now this is just who I am. Like I am this shitty of a person. But that really is actually like it's true. Like we get this, at least for me, I experience a daily reprieve from my own bullshit based on how close I can stay to my higher power. And when I let up at all on my spiritual program, my default mode for Tiffany is secret keeping and lying. And I will look for anything I can to give me the opportunity to tell lies and keep secrets.
So
So
whenever
how-
you quit,
How,
You guys go ahead. I just want to throw that comment on the screen.
how many years were you sober when you were going through that, all the affairs and stuff?
Man, I was like, hang on, let me think about the math. Probably 13 or 14 years sober.
Wow.
Right?
So at that time, you know, when you did your first 4-step, or I don't know how many 4-steps you did up to that point, but did you think that, you know, your quote unquote character defects had been removed? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
did you? Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if my first 4-step really revealed this. No, it didn't. This is a great question. It took these affairs and doing a second 4-step when I was it would have been in 2017 that I did my second 4-step. I remember doing it, sitting down and doing my 5th step, and the person that I was doing my 5th step with looked at me and she goes, "You like secrets." And I was like, "No, I don't. I just like had no choice but to keep secrets." And she's like, "No, you like them." And I didn't pick up on that in the first time that I did my 4-step when I was 6 months sober or whatever. I just still, I think I held on to the victim idea a little longer than I should have in early sobriety. And I never really healed enough, like never really owned enough of who I was. And it took all of this other shit happening in my marriage ending, my second marriage ending, for me to really be able to just be like, yeah, Tiff, like this is who you are without God. This is what you fall back on. And it's, it's okay. But if you want any sort of happy life, you're going to have to get your shit together and find God and hang on real damn tight.
Because it
So
seems
I
like
have
that's something. Go ahead, Brooks.
no, go ahead, Neil.
That
Go
wasn't
ahead,
me,
Neil.
bro. That wasn't
Oh,
me,
okay.
That
bro.
was me. I'm awake today.
No,
Whoa.
I can see that. I was just gonna say that seems like something that would have been taken care of in the sex inventory. You know what I'm saying? Like, because
Yeah.
for me, the sex inventory revealed how much of a piece of crap I was in relationships and how dishonest, and you know what I'm saying?
But my sex inventory with my first 4th and 5th step was minuscule because I had been
One
married.
husband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There wasn't much going on, like, and it was arguably an abusive relationship. So it was just really easy for me to just be like, I wash my hands of this. Like I was raised in a weird religion. Sex was taboo anyway, like blah, 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 sex. Who cares? It didn't feel like all that relevant. And I think I had like my own sexual trauma is the wrong word, but like weird ideas around sex because of how I've been raised. And so I don't know, it was almost like a few years into sobriety, that's when I decided to like go on my sexual escapades, which was just a disaster.
Good. We
so
can
I
laugh
have
about
two,
it now.
Yes, thank God.
and I have 2 questions. One, did you replace your drinking and stuff with working out? You found a new outlet and everything. So is that one of the new outlets, or do you have any other hobbies besides that?
That's also another great question. For a time, hell yes, definitely. Like working out was life and would not miss, and like would not shut the fuck up about working out. Like there was a lot of ego attached to that. And like, God, no one gives a shit how much I deadlifted today. Like, stop. There was no balance around it, and then I opened a gym, and then like so much ego there because everybody's looks up to me, and like yeah. And in fact, I think I replaced my recovery with being a gym owner and like, well, I don't need recovery because I am helping all these people. Well, that's ridiculous. You're getting paid for it. And, there's all this ego involved with gym ownership because everybody tells you how much you're changing their lives and blah, 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 blah. And that's lovely and true. But for somebody like me that can get a big head really quickly, it was becoming a problem. I still work out, but I have much more balance around it now. I walk a lot like a little old lady. I mean, I don't need to be like the fastest gal out there. I like all of my BFFs at the lake are 70 years old and older, which is great. And I see the young people running by and I'm just like, I don't care anymore. And that's nice. Other hobbies, I love to write and I'm working on a book. So
Awesome.
definitely, yeah. That
Can we
would
get
be
the title of that book?
currently the title of the book is The Word Whisperer. And then something
Is it going
about
to be fiction or nonfiction?
nonfiction. So I like
Okay, cool.
to pay attention to what I see going on in the world and then take what looks like a mundane situation and turn it into a really magical opportunity to see love. And
How long have you been working on that?
oh gosh, probably, I mean, in an official capacity for about 6 months, but I've been
Okay.
writing in that way for about 10 years now. I have a journalism degree.
wow.
I discovered early on in college that I love feature writing. I like to tell stories. So like I'll go to the nail salon and see a woman taking care of her elderly mother and helping her get her nails done. And the mom has dementia and I'll write a whole story about it and la, la, la.
Do you do
It's
like a bad lip reading thing with it? I'm bad about doing that when I people watch. I'll come up with a whole dialogue that doesn't exist. It's not right.
I don't know, probably. Like, I will probably make it way sweeter for what's going on. Like, probably she's beating the shit out of her mom, but I'm like, oh, and the whole rest of the room is like, she's horrible to her mother. What are you talking about?
So I got one question, but it'll lead to the next one. So are you married or are you in a relationship now? And how do you balance your recovery with being in a relationship and everything?
Great questions. I am still in a relationship with the woman that I got caught by the PI. We just laugh and think it's hilarious that we're still together because we were both disasters, like it was almost like you two deserve each other. You both suck. But both of us, she's in recovery too. And
I was about to ask that. Yeah.
yes, thank God. And we both live really, like, we're both really, actually really good at monogamy when we stay close to our higher powers. So it's been genuinely pretty easy relationship. In terms of balance, we're both kind of old, so there's not a lot of like neediness. And she has a really, really big life. She owns her own business. I have a really big life of my own. I'm still raising 2 kids that are 14 and 16. So not a lot of expectations from either side. We just are happy when we have time together. But we're both really like whole, complete people without each other. And so when we get to come together, it's fantastic, but it's not like this needy, weird, you're not giving me enough attention kind of thing, like at all, which is great.
So what do you do for a living now?
I am currently a copywriter and do a lot of
Okay.
I do a lot of social media writing for the Bureau of Indian Education.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot actually, but it's not like my dream writing job. But I think I'm gonna have to just like make up my own job. I closed my gym about a year and a half ago, and I think I've been in like a little bit of an identity crisis since then. It's been, I've always been extremely busy. And then I started praying a couple of years ago. I was just like, I feel overwhelmed. I feel too busy. I don't feel like I'm ready for something different in my life. And man, be careful what you ask for. Cause I managed to transition my business basically to close it. And, I'm definitely in a liminal space right now in my life. Like I feel like, like an EDM music, like the music is going completely insane and it's super loud and every instrument or synthesizer, whatever the hell they use for EDM is going wild and the song is just ramping the fuck up and it's nuts. And then all of a sudden everything just stops.
Yeah.
Before the next part starts. I feel like I'm in that pause right now. And I know that there's more, but I don't
Where the bass line drops. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what it sounds like yet. So I'm just having to be patient.
It's all about the journey, though.
Amen. Hell yes.
I think we focus so much thinking that if we get to a destination, then we'll finally be happy. We'll finally arrive.
Yeah.
And looking back, it's not so. It's about the journey and the people that God puts in your life to help you along that journey, and that's the most meaningful part.
Absolutely.
Well, and that's where the growth is in the trenches too. You don't grow by reaching the destination right away. You grow in the experiences that get you that destination. 100%. At least that's been my experience so far.
Definitely.
So I got a question. Do you ever take H&I to all women's facilities and stuff, and speak to them and let them know what you've been through, so they can realize that they have someone to relate to, and it'd be because people tend to look down when they're at these facilities and they're like thinking that it's impossible to bounce back whenever they have all these things going on in their lives, and I tend to sit there and watch it a lot at my job. And I tend to tell these people, like, don't give up. There's people that come to my job all the time and speak with people and let them know that there's always going to be hope, and like people hearing these up and down stories, because some people think, oh, well, I didn't go out that far, so I'm not that bad off. And, like some people, you don't got to be at your lowest to hit your rock bottom, like you said.
Yeah. So what was the question? Have I ever done that?
Do you go do H&I anywhere so you can explain that to young women?
I spent a lot of time with Remerge when they first got going. I don't know if you're familiar with them, and absolutely loved the work. It's an incredible program. It's basically mothers that are facing incarceration have an opportunity to be, quote, rehabilitated in a different manner than prison, thank God. And so we would take meetings to these women. It's been a few years since I've been involved in it, though. But it was incredible. I mean, yeah.
Because awesome. I've always thought it'd be really cool to have try to get something started for the men, kind of like Remerge, that gives them a second chance. That gives them a chance to be involved in their children's lives. Because a lot of guys they just go to prison. They don't care. They lock us up and they think about us later.
Yeah, you're right.
So what does your recovery look like today? Like, what, you don't have to, I know we're not going to mention specific groups, but are you a part of a 12-step group? Do you have a home group? Do you have sponsor? Do you sponsor other women?
I currently do sponsor a person, but not a woman.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a gay guy. And so, it fits, it works perfectly. He is absolutely a complete and utter blessing to my life. I've worked with him for, oh my God, 7 years, and we have become really good friends. And it's one of those relationships that now evolved into there's a true interchange of encouragement there when we get together, and he helps me every bit as much as I help him. He's absolutely fantastic. Don't currently have a home group. I do enjoy midday meetings here and there. I struggle terribly with evenings. I am usually asleep by 8 o'clock. I get up around 4 o'clock in the morning. So anything after 4 or 5 p.m. is a hard no for me. This is a huge exception. I can't believe I'm still awake right now. Actually, I should be watching.
We thank you. We are so happy to have you on. Thank you. I wake up at 4 o'clock also, so I feel you right there.
Right? I'm just I feel like I have narcolepsy by 8 o'clock at night. I'm just like, oh my God.
I just go to bed early. I don't get up that early, but I go to bed that early. So
that's good. That's
gotta have a solid 8, 10 hours of sleep, or I'm dead to the world.
Yes.
So who would you say your biggest inspiration is right now? I've been writing down questions as we go too. So, but who's your biggest inspiration right now, or even throughout your sobriety? What who kind of reached down and helped pick you up in those low times of getting stuff figured out? Was it a
That would
specific
definitely
person or?
Yeah, that would definitely be my dad. I was 14 when he got sober. Um, at God, I was probably 21 or 22. He had an affair on my mom and was the
Oh
most
shit!
devastating. I know, terribly devastating for me because I had always been a daddy's girl and, spent almost every day with him. Even long after I got married, I hung out with my dad almost every day. I was crazy about him. And he was super active in recovery. So I was shocked that he would do such a thing in recovery. Like, can you believe somebody would do that? Um, and then, when I got sober, he was there. He absolutely saved my ass in so many ways. And we stayed really, really close. He died of cancer about 12 or 13 years ago. And, that was a really, really, really hard loss. He was and is my most favorite person that I will have ever known. I mean, I just can't even to watch a man who had was visibly regretful over the kind of father he was in my first 14 years. And he was not abusive. He was just not there. He was drunk all the
Yeah,
time. So he just was that guy that couldn't really give much. And then once he got sober, you talk about living amend. This man walked the walk and talked the talk, and became like my absolute hero. And so I don't know, like it don't and then he died. And so now I feel like even made him into more of a martyr. And I'm sure that he sucked in some ways, but I don't see it. Like I think he's incredible. So
So I
so
got a
that breaks.
question. I got a question along the
Okay.
lines of what she was asking.
I
So
was too,
what
but
kind
go
of
ahead. It's cool.
what kind of
Yeah,
You
advice
good, Chris?
we
could
keep
you
doing that to each other. I don't know how we keep
what
doing
I know.
what kind of advice could you give somebody that is going through a loss in recovery to help them maintain and keep a really good balance and stay in a good positive mindset through all that?
That's a good question.
feel your pain, um, grieve. And I don't believe that grieving comes naturally for all of us. Uh, so, you know, if you're struggling with how to walk through a tremendous loss, go ask for help. Find a grief group, find a counselor, stay close to meetings if you're getting what you need there in terms of like creating space for grief. And I actually wonder sometimes, like, did my ass fall off 13 or 14 years into sobriety partially because I did not grieve my dad the way that I should have. um like I don't know. I just wanted to he's gone. What else are we going to do? He's gone. It's over. It's done. And it wasn't until at least 10 or 11 years later that I finally like broke the fuck down and, was just like, this is terrible. And I cry more now than I did the first couple of years after he died. And I think that's a good thing. I'm still in grief. I always will be. But now the grief is just, I feel it because I love him and I miss him.
I don't think that's one thing I don't think we ever truly get over. Like I lost my mom in a car wreck
Mm.
about, I want to say I was almost 3 years sober. I was 2.5 years sober, and so that really hit. And it was 23 days after I had gotten out of prison.
Oh my
So
God.
she got to see me one time, and but that was something that, like, because Chris was asking, how did you handle that? How did you get yourself through that? But that if there was any excuse I could have used in
Mhm.
my recovery to use, that would have been one of them, and nobody would have blamed me.
I know.
And I didn't. And another thing is, I'm an opiate addict. That's my drug of choice. And my mom was on methadone for 14 years. She was on methadone all the way until she died. And I remember going in her when we went to clean her trailer out the next day, or it might have been that same day, but the police had given my sister her purse, and she had 2 bottles of methadone in her purse, and I remember grabbing them from her, and I said, "Come with me," and we went to the bathroom, and I remember pouring them out, and just, I mean, hours after my mom had died, and I'm like, that's when I knew that the desire to use and drink had truly been removed from my life.
Amazing.
Like, just being able to do that was, but what I did personally, I leaned heavily on my brothers in recovery.
Yeah.
This was during the middle of COVID, like when COVID was still, scary, and
Right.
Zoom was really big for meetings at the time. And I remember coming to my aunt's house, and everybody's like taking shots of liquor, dealing with the grief how they do. And I walked into a spare bedroom, and I turned on the Zoom call, and I didn't even put the camera up. I just listened, and I got so many messages from other people. So heavily support on my brothers was how I dealt with it.
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
you never truly get over it though. So I feel what you're saying when you say you're still grieving. I feel that to my core.
And I just let it come now. It's just like it comes in waves, and I never know what it could be a song. There's certain trees. This sounds crazy, but there's certain trees that I pass by that I believe he's there, especially around Lake Hefner where I grew up fishing with him, and I always acknowledge it. And if I need to cry, I cry. It's okay. It's it'll last a couple of minutes, and then I'm back to living my life. It's just love. That's all it is. Every time that grief wave comes, it's just unrequited love because he's not here.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Pedro, what are you looking at over there, buddy?
Me? I'm looking at a couple things. I got questions, but I'm just kind of trying to read the room on this a little bit. So, okay. I got 2 questions because you said that your dad got sober when you were 14, right? Did you have resentments towards him when he was still an alcoholic, or did those kind of become unearthed later on?
Yeah, I was actually shocked that I thought his drinking was normal because my grandparents drank like that. All my uncles drank like that. I was shocked when my mom said, "Your dad's going to treatment for alcoholism." And I was like, "Alcohol? Dad needs to stop smoking cigarettes. Like, who cares about the drinking?" And my mom was like, "No, trust me, like he needs to stop drinking."
Damn.
I know. I think it took me until I got into recovery to look back on his drinking and be like, yeah, that was really fucked up. Cause like he'd get up and start drinking at like 3:00 in the morning. Well, then by the time I got home from school at 2:30 or 3:00 in the afternoon, he was literally passed out in the middle of the living room floor. He had this giant body pillow that he would lay on. And like my friends and I would come in the house, get off the school bus, and we would step over my drunk dad. And my friends would be like, "How come your dad is like asleep on the floor in the living room?" And to me, it was like completely normal. I was like, he's really tired, you guys. He gets up early. He works really hard. I don't really, this is your dad doesn't lay in the middle of the living room at 2:00 in the afternoon. That's so
yeah. I'm just trying to like draw a parallel because that's when I got sober, is when my daughter was 13, 14 and stuff like that. And I'm like, how long did it take for you to accept his living amends and stuff like that? Because I went back and made amends to my daughter and stuff like that. But and I know kids are resilient, but is that something you had to work through yourself in your sobriety? And
I think his affair devastated me more than his drinking had, but I was older when that happened, and he left our family and moved away and all the things. So I think your daughter's going to be A-okay. Those living amends.
Yeah, I think it'll be all right.
Dads to daughters, just chef's kiss. It's good stuff.
So what would be your suggestion for anybody who is trying to get into recovery, or who's scared? What would be something you would say that might help them break through and realizing that maybe there is a chance, because a lot of people look at it, and I used to look at it this way, like, well, you don't know what I've been through. You don't know how hard I partied or whatever,
Right.
and it took somebody taking a meeting into my rehab facility. It's a mutual friend of all of ours that was an adequate representation of a specific program that made me realize, like, man, this person drank like I fucking did.
Yeah.
And if he can get sobriety, I mean, so what would be your suggestion for people that might have some fear that it's associated with that?
I think I understand your question. I personally didn't know anyone in recovery, and so I just had to show up by myself. And I hated my first meeting. So my personal advice would be, if you go and you hate it, just go again and keep going until you don't hate it. And it took me 60 days. It took me 60 meetings in a
Okay.
row for it to, I mean, I didn't hate every single meeting, but it wasn't great. But I remember on my 60 days, something shifted. And I was like, oh my God, I belong here. And I was like surrounded by a bunch of like crusty, old, smoking white that morning. And I'm like, oh my God, like I am you guys. And I finally let it in. So keep showing up is what I would say, even if you don't quite get it.
Okay.
One of the things that I did, I went to meetings and stuff, and I had like a resentment at one point against places that I was going, and I still feel like I work through them to this day. But I realized that it wasn't the meetings and the things that I was doing that was the problem. It was me.
100%.
And it was hard.
100%.
It's one of the hardest things I think there is to identify, is like, I got a problem with this person or this place or whatever. And it like, really, I really had to shift the way I look at things, because it's 9 times out of 10, it's my perception of what's going on. It has nothing to do with them. They're just everybody else is just doing their own thing, man. They're just trying to survive like us.
Come on.
I had my hackles up for so long, and felt like my drinking was everyone else's fault. If you hadn't done this, then I wouldn't have had to drink, and poor me. You guys, I went to Al-Anon first, like as a total freaking alcoholic. I was like, oh my God, my life is so bad because everyone around me is a drinker, and I need Al-Anon. And so, hi, baby. Hi.
Yeah, she's got out of the bathtub. She couldn't wait.
So, I would go to Al-Anon meetings and just, cry about all the alcoholics in my life. And then I would leave Al-Anon and go to Flips and get drunk off my ass and drive home in a blackout. And of course I'm not an alcoholic. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, I used to do the same. I used to go to Flips too, and because I worked right behind it, Cafe 501, and
there you go.
It was just like a perfectly normal thing to me. I didn't see like I had an issue or anything. And I worked in the food industry for like 15 years. I was a bartender. I waited tables, and I just thought it was perfectly normal. But then I realized that it was the stress that was getting to me, and I just thought, that everyone did it. So why is it bad if I do it?
Right.
Where did Brooks go? Okay, there he is.
He told me.
I know I'm not tripping. What happened, bro?
Uh-oh. Sound check.
Yeah, it's all good. He'll edit all this.
Well, that's awesome. Did you always what's the industries that you've worked in? Have you worked in like mostly just like gyms, or have you worked in the food industry? Have you worked in like, I've had to switch like industries of what I've worked in multiple times.
Yeah.
Because stress.
I hear that. I owned a dance studio, and then I left that religion and it fell apart. And then I waited tables. Well, then I got sober and then started waiting tables. And then in sobriety, I got offered to bartend, and I called my sponsor, and she was like, if you want to drink, you'll drink. If you don't want to drink, you won't drink. So I bartended in sobriety, loved it. And then I ended up in the gym industry and stayed in that industry for about, I guess, 19 or so years.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I hate Globo gyms. I'm a super brat. So I think that's why I opened my own gym.
I got a question. That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, I got to know. What was your gym called?
Well, originally it was called Tribe Gym. And then I changed the name about 2 or 3 years ago to Alchemy Athletics.
Where was it located?
Well, we kind of been all over the place, mostly around Nichols Hills. And then we were up at Penn and Britton briefly. And then we were on Northwest 4th Street, kind of near the jail. And then now we're in Capitol Hill, Oklahoma City. But it's just like a really small little environment now where you get online, watch a video, and then go and lift. So, yeah.
When you were located, I was gonna say when you were located on Penn and Britton, you're like close to T-Mobile and stuff, right?
Yeah, across the street. Okay. Yeah.
I knew that because I used to. That's what side of town I grew up on. So I know
nice.
what you're talking about.
It was I loved it. It just is brutal. It's exhausting coaching classes all day long. I was tired. I was worn out. I was kind of done. And I think it was time for me to create a space to write, to really pour my heart into writing a book. And so here I am. Hopefully with enough space to do that.
What is Brooks doing?
Sorry. Brooks told you the question and everything, right?
Oh yeah. Remind me of the question.
1 second. Let me check my calendar. Oh snap! It is if you have a purpose in life, and if you have a purpose in life, in recovery.
Do I have? What is my purpose in life in recovery? Is that
yes?
In short, the answer is take care of God's kids. Like love on people, be of service. That's the short answer. But for me, and I've talked about this a little bit already, I am completely incapable of loving on God's kids and taking care of God's kids when I'm not staying spiritually connected. And so, it reminds me of like 12-step stuff, like having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we are able to care for people. And if I don't stay spiritually awake, I cannot take care of people, and I can't even love them. Do you know what I mean? Like if I'm pulling some bullshit, even if I'm not drinking, if I am keeping any sort of secret, I shut down and I feel like a fucking sociopath. Like I go into the gas station and I don't give a fuck about the homeless guy on the front sitting outside. I don't care. Sorry, you're homeless, dude. I don't fucking care. I go inside and I don't have that interchange of love with the person behind the counter. I just don't give a shit. But if I'm spiritually connected and I'm doing the next right thing and I'm living in integrity, I care so much. I will do anything for anybody. So yeah, it's take care of God's kids, but it's first of all, take care of my relationship with my higher power and myself and stay true to who I am. I have to, or I am not a good person.
Man.
That's awesome. Nemo, would you like to answer that question?
Say it again. What's my purpose? What do I believe my purpose is in recovery?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm trying not to.
You're good, Brooks. Have you found a purpose in life after recovery? So, mine. It's funny because when I first got sober, you could have gave me a notepad and I would have told you what my life looked like 5 years from now. And I had all these huge plans, or what I thought were huge. And you know, I'll have 7 years sober in November, and looking back, uh, it looks nothing like what I would have wrote down. Nothing. I mean, and that's okay, because that's me giving my will over to God. That's me going after God's will and not my own. So I'm just truly shocked at what my life looks like today. So I do believe I'm starting to find what my purpose is, and I know that I've been blessed with a really big platform on social media, or on 3 different platforms. I've been blessed, and so whenever I get to do stuff like this, these are my favorite things to do. Is to put people on here to share their testimony, or give a little piece of my testimony. And so I believe that's my purpose, is uh, using the blessings that God gives me to bless others with, whether it be how I got sober, what keeps me sober, uh, what I've been through, because someone out there right now is really struggling. Whether they're going to comment or not, they might scroll through, click on this, and hear something that might change their life.
Yeah.
And you know, they follow me because I act goofy on camera, and that's okay. But um, they might relate to something and hear something that might change their life. So my purpose is definitely helping others, but it didn't come from any plan that I had, and I'm just now seeing what God's done with my life just in the past 7 years gives me so much faith to handle him even more. And I don't want to even I don't want to do my will anymore. So yeah.
That's awesome.
That's really awesome. When it comes to me, man, like I never thought that I'd be doing some of the things I'm doing now, and I'm gratefully blessed. I'm extremely blessed to have friends like Nemo and Brooks. We've all come together and put our heads together and doing stuff like this, and doing our little videos that we make and everything. All the content we make. It's been a blessing, and it just makes me happy. Things come together, and then they've come together more and more and more, and we're still building. And I think this is just the beginning. And I feel like that we can reach a lot more people. And, I get people that message me that I haven't talked to in forever that reach out to me and, say a few things to me that I never even thought that they had an issue until, they happen to be scrolling through Facebook, and, then they'll go through all of Nemo's videos and see a few videos of us and, finally admit that they have an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Brooks, you want to answer that question?
Yeah.
Welcome
Man.
back.
So
Welcome
I
back.
know, dude. It's like if it's not one thing, it's another. It just is what it is. And like, I'm not even broadcasting from my PC.
And remember, we're getting into Tiffany's bedtime right now, so we gotta
Hey,
wrap this up.
it's my bedtime too. I agreed to do this every week. This is the one day a week I stay up past 8. So
Right.
okay, so yes, I have found my purpose in recovery. I still think it's being revealed every day. I'm going to kind of piggyback on what Chris said. A lot of what we're doing, it's so cool how this whole thing started, because when Chris had mentioned he was going to do the podcast, I was like, hey man, if you ever need a guest, let me know. He bounces back with, you do sound and stuff, right? Yeah. I was like, you want to help me with this? And then it was on. Another thing that I get to do that's really cool is my job. I kind of got a bunch of babies that I get to look over, fight insurance companies over and stuff like that in the recovery community. It is what it is. It's cool. It's like you kind of get to know these people's stories all in that, and it's so easy to have a passion for something like that, because I knew where I was at just a couple years ago, 10 years ago, when I first tried to get sober. And as far as like I get to do like I said, the videos with some of my best friends. I get to play music with some other brothers who are in recovery. And it's the coolest fucking thing ever. It really is. So short answer, no, I don't think I found it yet, but I think I'm getting there. I think that more to be revealed, and I feel like my ideas of what's going to be my purpose is not enough for what my God has planned for me.
Amen.
So that's my answer.
Good stuff. We barely scratched the surface. We barely scratched the surface.
I know, yeah. It's just it's a limitless load, if you will. Some people will catch that reference.
Early on in my recovery, my dad said, he said, Tiffany, I want you to sit down and write a list of everything that you think your life, like in order for your life to be complete 10 years from now, put down what you wish to have. And then I want you to look at it in 10 years and compare what it is that your God will do for you versus what you would have done only for yourself, and how, you know, we're talking beyond your wildest dreams stuff. It's like, I think all of us could just sit here and go like, never would I ever have thought that I would want to be doing what I'm doing right now. And have the things that I have and be grateful for what it is that I have. You know what I mean? Like, what I gave a shit about 10 years ago, it's so irrelevant, so silly and superficial, and who cares? It's this is the good life. Definitely.
Hell yeah. So what else you guys got? Did you answer you answered the question, I assume, while I was gone, dicking with my computer?
Yeah.
Okay,
You just answered it too.
Okay. Well, I know I answered it, but I think I
Okay.
missed what she
Just
said.
making
I'm
sure I
sure
did.
it was
Yeah.
much more profound than probably what I said. So I'll have to go back and watch it actually. So it's fine though. So you got any other questions for us?
Me?
Anybody? No, I was talking to
no.
Tiffany, but you have any
what
other questions for us?
do you want me to give you my question though for next week's guest? Is that what you're asking?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, yeah, I was gonna ask you anything else for us, but yes, that would be
My question is sort of like what we've been talking about, you know, like living life beyond our wildest dreams kind of stuff. But my question technically is, what has surprised you the most about yourself now that you're in recovery? What has surprised you the most about yourself?
That's a good one. That is a good
Really
one.
good one.
It's crazy because like the first, I want to say 5 or 6 weeks of us doing this, people were giving us the same question.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we're getting some really good ones lately though.
Yeah, I loved
like
my
that.
question. I thought it was great.
So let me just repipe this back to you. What has surprised you the most about yourself now that you're in recovery? Right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Cool. Man, it's been awesome. I hope they didn't already try and greet you out and say we appreciate you coming on and everything, but I'm gonna go and do it again. It's been really awesome. Okay, well, I'm gonna be the gentleman here and say we really appreciate you coming on. It's been super cool. Like I said, you and I've only had very little interactions. You definitely had a good vibe about you, and we're very grateful for you came on here for episode 23. And I think that is significant that you're about to have 23 years of sobriety.
Yeah.
I don't think
Now I
there's
just
any
had
accidents. So.
I want to shout out Nicole Calloway. She's watched the whole episode. She really loves.
Nicole.
Yes, she loved your story. Really enjoyed it. They want to know when your book's coming out. They're gonna get one. So, Courtney Nicole, and Ray of Hope. Shout out Ray of Hope.
Where's that at?
Timothy, you gotta scroll down. She's right underneath.
Oh yeah, right there. Got it.
And just shout out to everyone who watched, man.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thank you so much.
Story. Awesome.
It's awesome. I can't thank you three enough. This has been so much more fun than I thought it would be. And like I'm actually wide awake right now, so
it's probably the 75 cups of coffee you had.
Shit. Oh God, by 5. Maybe. I don't think I'm okay. I'm just
we'd like
pouring more energy on anxiety.
Yeah, that's all it is. Just hyper focused anxiety for me, anyways. Because so we'd like to do a follow up with you at some point, if that's cool. I mean, a couple months down the road. We've been promising this for a while. We need to actually start circling around to our original guests and start doing that. But we'd love to have you on again.
Look, I would love that. That sounds awesome.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. And like I said, we'd love to have you on in the future. And yeah, thank you for doing this. It was really amazing.
Thanks again, guys. You did a great job. It was awesome. See
Thank you,
All right.
Tiffany.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Bye.
Bye, yeah.
Call this number back. I need $25 for this walk around sit down chair.
Productions. Been around the block. Been around the block.
All right.